Okay, can somebody please confirm that you can hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. If you notice, my computer is still converting the lecture. This is the Zoom meeting for a lecture, so I can post it on the internet. And so my computer is going to be a bit slow until this finishes. We still have 10% to go, just to let you know. Before we begin, are there any questions? All right, let me restate that I have graded Lab 00, and I hope to finish Lab 01 tonight. I'm about halfway through it so far. Um, if I do finish Lab 01 tonight, then both Lab 00 and Lab 01 can be turned in for the second time by Saturday. And I'll post this in your labs for the second grading. You only need to do that if you did not get 100%. If you got 100%, then you can just leave it as is. And obviously, you don't need to turn it in a second time, but the point advantage will be worth your while to do it a second time. Any question about any of that? All right. So today, you'll note we have, you're supposed to read textbook chapter 3 through the end of the section on compound light microscopy before beginning labs 3 and 4, which we'll do next week. So please read textbook chapter 3 on the microscope. Today we're going to be discussing and beginning the infectious disease project. On Thursday we'll discuss lab 2. Any questions about any of that? All right. The infectious disease project is a 100-point lab project. You will pick a specific infectious disease, determine the underlying cause of the disease, what the microbe does to the human body, how we treat the disease, how social, economic, and political factors affect our ability to deal with the disease. You will become an expert on one particular disease. And this is the point of this project. Any question about that? Now, you each will have a different infectious disease. So the first person who asks for an infectious disease will get that infectious disease. And there's a few diseases I can split them up, like in different ways. Like HIV, I can split into HIV 1 and HIV 2. I can also split chickenpox into the disease chickenpox and then the disease shingles. And so we can split that one into two. But most diseases, I do not have an easy way to split them, in which case the first person who asks for it will get that disease. And you will each become an expert on a different disease. That is by design as well, so that there's no sharing between different assignments between students. But that means I will not be able to quiz you on this because you're each going to be choosing a different disease. Any question about any of that? All right, you can read about the rationale of this project. The project format, pick an infectious disease. You do need to check with your instructor about your disease. I will not allow two people to have the same disease, generally, unless I can divide up the disease. If no one has your disease and your instructor agrees with it, you may work on that disease. First, email me, and the first person who asks will get it. I want to check to make sure it's an infectious disease as well, and that it's a narrow enough disease that you can actually do a report on it. Like some people, they want to do it on pneumonia. And I tell them, no, you can't do it on pneumonia because there are too many infectious agents that can cause pneumonia. You would have a report 30 pages or more, and it still wouldn't cover the entire disease pneumonia. Okay, so what I'll tell you is you can pick one infectious agent that can cause pneumonia. And you could check something like Streptococcus pneumoniae, or you could take even E. coli can cause pneumonia if you get it in your lungs. So just pick one infectious agent that causes pneumonia, and then you can pick that infectious agent to cause pneumonia. And when I narrow it down, something like that, you may discuss other causes of the disease, but only discuss it in one or two sentences, meaning you only briefly discuss other causes of pneumonia. Any questions about any of that? So if you do not clear it with me, you will get a penalty, and the penalty will be severe if you choose a disease that somebody else has already chosen. Okay?
Yeah, can
So
I
make sure you
clarify?
check with me first. Okay, go on.
Oh, perfect. I was just going to make sure that it's your Canvas inbox that you prefer us to contact you by.
Yeah,
Okay,
send it to Canvas. If you send it to my clark.edu email, I will not check it frequently. So somebody else may beat you to the punch, meaning I will check the Canvas email right now about every day because I know a lot of students are going to be asking for the project, but eventually I'll slow down to once every other day.
sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So then write up your report on your infectious disease. First, you need to pick your disease, do your research, and then submit a written report. The report must be typed, single spaced, with 1 inch margins, and please use 12-point font. If you notice, I have eyewear, and if you use smaller than 12-point font, I'll have a hard time reading it. And trust me, you don't want me to have a hard time reading it because I'll grade the paper a lot harder if I have to struggle reading the paper. So please use a 12-point font. You should have a cover with your name, the title of your project, Biology 260, Microbiology, the date. However, do not have a cover page. Just put it at the top of your first text page. Any question about any of that? I don't want you wasting space on a cover page. And I used to print these out and grade them. I won't do that because we're an online class. So it used to be a waste of paper if you had a cover page as well. So just have a cover information on top of your first page of text, on top of the page. And then have your text, the main body of your information. It should not exceed 5 single-sided pages. If you go beyond 6, you'll get a penalty. If you're less than 4, you'll get a penalty. Okay? Describe all aspects of your disease that are in the report content. So the project will have 60 points with an additional 15 points for grammar, spelling, flow, and readability. Meaning your text will be worth 60 points with an additional 15 points for the grammar, the spelling, the flow, and the readability. If your grammar, spelling, flow, and readability are all good, you'll get 15 out of 15. And then the text worth 60 points. The text should be written in your own words wherever possible. Use direct quotes only when absolutely necessary, such as any information that's not commonly known. If you're directly quoting someone or you're paraphrasing it, put it in a quote and then give a citation where you're giving credit for the source. This is called an in-text citation. If you don't do that, it will be called plagiarism, and that can result in a 0 for this paper, which is worth 100 points. So don't plagiarize. Put it in quotes and give it citation. The in-text citation will be worth 10 points. Let me show you how to do an in-text citation. So you have a bunch of text where you state a fact, and then you go parentheses. So I'm having trouble seeing the key. And then you do something like Smith, the last name of the author, and then the year. And that is if there's only one author. If there's two authors, it would be Smith and Jones. If there's more than two authors, you then go Smith et al. Oops, sorry. I should be in parentheses. And then the year. We'll do a different year here. So that's how you do an in-text citation. 3 ways, depending on how many authors there are. One author, their last name, the year. 2 authors, Smith and Jones, we print out both last names and then the year. And if there's more than 2, you go Smith et al. 2021. This is one of the few times you can use et al. In the in-text citation. Any question about any of that? Now that's inside the body of your text. And usually this CC should be in quotes because you're stating it directly. So I'll put it in quotes there. But it could be just a common fact, like you're stating how many people have died in the United States from COVID-19. That is a fact, and it doesn't need to be in quotes, but you do need to give a citation because that's a fact that is not commonly known. Now, if you give a commonly known fact, like, I don't know, COVID-19 is easily transmissible from one patient to another, that's a commonly known fact. You don't need to give an in-text citation there. But if it's not commonly known, you should give an in-text citation. So whenever you're stating a fact that isn't commonly known, you should give an in-text citation. Whenever you're quoting someone, you should give an in-text citation. Whenever you're using artificial intelligence to get your information, even if you paraphrase it, meaning you write it in your own words, you should put an in-text citation. I don't remember if you're supposed to put quotes around it or not. I don't remember that. But whenever you use artificial intelligence, you should give a in-text citation. Any question about any of that? I'm just stating the in-text citation for artificial intelligence because this is something new and it is not in the plagiarism tutorial, at least not yet. And I'm allowing you to use AI, but I do want to know who's using it and what they're using it for. You don't need to know about that, but and then how many of you are using artificial intelligence? I just want to know that. I'm going to collect that data for a few terms and then just turn it in as a report to my department. Any question about any of that? All right. So that's inside the text. Now, at the end of the text, you'll have your full citation, which I call the full references. And usually you don't say full references, you just say references. And you'll have to have Smith. Actually, I should have gone 2022. But here you don't just go Smith, you have to have the initials or the name. So I'm going to go A period J. And since this is this one, it'll be 2022. And then you give the name of the article, journal of the article, volume, page number. And so this would be something like Smith. Um, let's see. Let's just go Science Magazine, volume. No idea what the volume would be, but we'll just go 1011. And then page number 22. So that would be for a journal. If it is a web page, this part would be the same. And then you give the web address. Let's see. Trying to think of a web address that would be reasonable. Can anyone give me a suggestion here? www dot, is that a dot? Um,
cdc.gov.
Say again? I'm just going to say
cdc.gov.
Proceeding at National Academy. Yeah. And then, I don't know, something .html. You can just go xxx .html. And if it's a newspaper, you do something a little different, but a book, you'd go the, this would all be the same. Name of the book, editor of book, if it has an editor, publisher of the book, and city of publication. I think you may, this I think is optional, you may put the page number too. But if it's a book, you give the name of the author, the year of the book, meaning always the year of the publication, the article or chapter of the book name, the name of the book, the editor of the book, the publisher of the book, the city of publication. Okay, so that's how you do full references for all the different types. It's a little different for a newspaper article. Here you go. This part will be the same. And it's very simple there. And then the last one is the newspaper name, like New York Times. You might give a page number for that. I don't remember. Let me look that up. Oh, come on. Oh, date of publication. Well, yeah, I do have that in there. And then the page number. Okay. So the page number is part of the newspaper. All right. So that's it for the full references. Any question about any of that? The full references will be worth, I believe, 15 points. Oh, wait a minute. Let's leave this in here just for a second. There's another point I need to talk about the full references. Let me come back to here. For the citations, you may use any commonly used citation format, APA, MLA, science citation format. You must have sources you cite in your paper from a scientifically appropriate and reputable organization, such as a scientific journal, the USDA, the FDA, the CDC, etc. Popular magazines that are known to be reliable, like Scientific American, National Geographic, Time, Newsweek, books and textbooks. All of them are textbooks. All of them have references. You can take a look at our textbook and you'll find that there are a number of people who, what's the word we use there? Who gave a credible source, meaning I want a place which has been peer reviewed. There are a number of reviewers for each textbook, okay? And then each article published in a scientific journal, as long as it's a journal that is credible, will have the article reviewed by 2 or 3 different authors. And that they call peer review. Newspapers are not peer reviewed, although usually the editor of the newspaper will review the article. And so it must be a credible newspaper like New York Times, not the National Enquirer. There are a variety of scientifically reputable television channels, shows like the History Channel, PBS. Just be using good sources. And I can take a look at your references, and you must have 4 good sources. Sources to be suspicious of will be religious, political, privately funded publications and websites. They will have and a personal website. They will have a bias because anyone can put up what they want and they will be promoting their own biases. So we want something that is a credible source. No Wikipedia, because anyone can go in and change it at any time. You may use Wikipedia, and you have to get your references from the references in Wikipedia. Make sure they are reliable references. And by the way, I'll warn you, if you use AI for a reference and then you use the references that AI gives you, oftentimes AI will give you made up references. And I don't know why it's doing that. It's because the people making the AI want you to like it. And so it wants to put in an answer, even if it doesn't have an answer. And so it sometimes will make up the references. So you must check all of your references that you get from AI. Any question about any of that? Meaning artificial intelligence. Because sometimes artificial intelligence just will put in, actually, it's nonsense. It's a made up reference. And the problem is the people making the AI want the people to like it and buy it as opposed to being accurate. I guess that's the way to word it. And hopefully that'll change, but that's the way it currently is. Anyways, be suspicious of any religious, politically, privately funded, personal websites. A college and university page that contains student information. Generally speaking, if the college information is made by a professor, it should be reliable. Like every once in a while, I change my own page because I got a mistake. But the point is, I go back and then correct the mistakes. And so most of all of my work published is reliable. So the literature citation page, meaning the full references, should be the last page of your report, assuming you have no appendix, and it'll be worth 15 points. You must have at least 4 unique sources referenced in your report, and they should be good sources. I don't say that there, but they should be um, good sources too. Let's just add that now. All right. Any questions about the uh, index citation or the full references? You must submit the final report to the folder in Canvas, and it must be submitted as a docx, meaning in Microsoft Word, a rich text format, a write format. I suppose you could submit a text format. I do not accept a PDF format. Any questions about any of that? If you're using another word processor other than Microsoft Word, just save it down as a rich text format. The reason for this is I will have the document go through a plagiarism checker, and it cannot read a PDF format. Why I do not accept a PDF format here. Any questions about any of that? All right. So the text should include a subject heading for your paper and then a subheading for each section beginning the section. You should have a section talking about the causative agent, so that should be a subheading. You should have a topic talking about the history, so that should be another subheading. In the causative agent, you should be talking about what is the causative agent of disease. Is it a bacterium, a virus, a prion, or a eukaryote? If it's a bacterium, what are the characteristics of the cell? What's the Gram reaction? What's the cell shape? What is the cellular growth arrangement? What are some metabolic capabilities, etc.? If it's a virus, what are the viral characteristics? Is it a DNA virus or an RNA virus? Is it a positive strand RNA virus or a negative single strand RNA virus? Is it a retrovirus? Is the virus envelope or is it a naked virus? We'll talk about these when we talk about viruses. How large is the virus? Is there a provirus in the virus infection? Are there any unique characteristics of its multiplication cycle? For example, most viruses will just infect your cells and grow, but um, rabies will infect the area of the bite mark and then will infect the neuron cells, grow up the nerve cell, up the spinal cord, and eventually reach the brain, and then will grow in the brain. And so that would be a different unique characteristic of rabies. This is one of the few diseases which, after you get bitten, you can actually get the rabies vaccine to protect you from getting the disease. Even though you have the virus growing in your bite site, um, any other infection, you have to get the vaccine before you get infected. That's not the case with rabies. You just need to have the vaccine create the immune response before the rabies virus attacks the brain. Any question about any of that? All right. History, how long have we known about the disease? Historically, how was the disease treated? What's the history of the vaccine development? If the disease doesn't have any vaccine development, just state that there is no vaccine currently. Describe the changes in our knowledge and attitudes of the disease throughout history. Obviously, if it's something brand new, like COVID-19, we haven't changed too much, but actually with COVID-19, we have changed. If you notice, nowadays, almost nobody's going out with a mask when they go out in public. Um, and our knowledge has changed, even in the short time we've had it. What's a disease like the bird flu? As far as I know, our knowledge of the disease and our attitude has not changed. But most diseases, our knowledge and attitude have changed throughout history, especially the longer we've known the disease. Epidemiology describe the prevalence and transmission of the disease, where in the world the disease prevalent, how many people currently infected, what's the rate of new infections, what's the rate of morbidity and mortality, what are the reservoirs of the pathogen, what is the mode of transmission. Pathology describe the pathogenic effect on cells, tissue, and organ system. What tissues, organ cells does the pathogen infect? What damage does the pathogen inflict? How is the damage inflicted? Is it direct mechanical damage? Does the organism produce a toxin doing the damage? Does the immune response cause the damage? What's the sequence of the disease? What's the length of incubation? What's the prodrome period? The period of illness, the decline period, the period of convalescence. Some disease don't use this terminology. I think they all have an incubation period, but some of the disease follow a different sequence and just discuss the different sequence of the disease. And then lastly, what are the major signs and symptoms of the disease? Give me the response and treatment of the disease. Describe the prophylactic measures that can be taken to limit the risk of spreading the disease or picking up the disease. Talk about the socio political and economic considerations of this disease. Each of these sections should have a subheading in your paper. If you're missing the subheadings, you'll get a -6 points. I'll show you that in a minute. Artificial intelligence may be used for this project, but the wording should be put in quotes or use your own wording. If even using your own wording, you must state that you're using AI and then give a citation. For example, the notation that people can be characterized as left brain or right brain is considered to be an oversimplification and a popular myth. State that in quotes, and then OpenAI in the index citation 2023, and then you reference OpenAI 2023 Chat GPT, put the version number, the large language model, and then the reference for where you got the Open AI or the artificial intelligence. Any question about that? The index citation should be OpenAI 2023. All right, the grading rubric for this project will be 2 points for your cover information, 9 points for the causative agent, 10 points from the history, 10 points for epidemiology, 10 points for pathology, 10 points for response and treatment, 9 points for socio-political and economic issues, quality of writing, 15 points, the index citation, 10 points, the literature citation pages, 15 points, for a total of 100 points. Any question about how this will be graded? All right. I think that's it for the project. Any questions? So decide on a project, email me asking for it. If you're the first one for that project, you'll get it. If you're the second one for the project, I will ask you to pick another topic. So late in the term, obviously not early in the term, but late in the term, if you're requesting a topic, you should request more than one, because late in the term, a lot of topics will be chosen. And then the other reason is I want to make sure that it's narrow enough that you can actually write a good report on it. And it has to be an infectious disease. So I'll check that too. All right, any question about that? Um, oh, one other point I want to talk about the full references. Students often get this wrong, like Smith et al. Cannot be in your full references with one exception. You have to literally spell out all of the authors. Oops, AJ. Ah, having a hard time here. There we go. So you give your second author. We'll just go Jones. And then if there's more, you spell them all out. Um, Wait. So with the full references, for almost all cases, you have to spell out all of the authors. There is one exception, which you can read about in the uh, the tutorial on plagiarism, and that is if there's 8 or more authors, you put the first 7 authors, or the first 6 authors, the first 7 authors, first 6 authors, and then you can say et al, and then you give the last author. And that's very seldom seen. Okay. So only in 8 authors or more can you ever use et al in the full references. So generally in the full references, you must spell out all of the authors. Any question about any of that? I went through the full references and the index citation in depth because students often get these wrong. And then they miss some points here. All right. Any questions about this project? If not, that's the project. So I'm done. Are there any questions? If not, I'll see you next time.